Hey there, it's Mark from DynamiteStocks.com and StockPursuit.com. I've got another video for you. Today was interesting. I think the things are still playing out like I was saying. The large cap stocks are pretty much had their runs for now at least. I think it's just going to be choppy, and worst case is, there's a significant sell-off in the market. Best case is, maybe we get 5-10%. Maybe, but I haven't even been trading the large caps lately. I've got a pretty big options book, and I've got some shorts, I've got some puts and some calls. So luckily, I've been playing these weak stocks too with puts. So I think there's even more opportunity now for those. Like, I was just going through a stock scan, and I just found a lot of things that are looking like the shorts are coming back here. Like, there's better setups on the short side, at least maybe for the next week or so. But some of my longs, let's kind of go through what I've got for my long positions. I've still got the Yalla, and that actually did pretty well today. That one is YALA, and it's a growing small cap company that's the Middle Eastern. It's like a social networking site, and they have games, and it's like a Middle Eastern exposed company in China, some of China, but it's mostly out east. And it's still got a good uptrend. It's got a trend, and it's got, I was hoping it would stay above that 540, 550 area, but it looks like a pullback. It actually kind of looks like a long bull flag right now, but I really don't. Honestly, I don't have any faith right now in most stocks on the long side. There's just too much. There's a lot of things that are just kind of crashing right now, like Upstart, and I think let's check on Wayfair, because that's another one that's pretty cyclical. Like, a lot of these companies that have been struggling the past couple of years, they keep having these spikes, and then they'll just sell off again. Like back in January and February, Wayfair spiked and it came straight back down. So on the longer term, yeah, it did it back in August of 22 too, but it actually managed to get up higher than last couple times. But these are the kind of stocks that are just struggling, but the market's still, bidding the prices up. So that's kind of why some of these are tough to trade, because you never know what's going to happen, especially if you have earnings. Because like a lot of stocks just rocketed off of earnings. But the Upstart was a pretty big one. I was actually thinking of that one. Like, I saw it when it was up so much, because it had a huge run up from like 20 to 70, and now it's just crashing. But if you look at in a long-term chart, like they did an IPO back in 2020 or 2021, so that was kind of the end of the cycle, so to speak, with these IPOs. A lot of times the IPOs that come out towards the late part of a cycle, like if you look back in history, like in the 1990s were an amazing time for the stock market and for IPOs. But back in 99 and the early part of 2000, before the crash in March, the stocks that had, or the companies that had these IPOs towards the end, a lot of them were just totally worthless. Like, they had no revenue, or they had maybe revenue in the best case scenario, but they're pretty much the worst of the worst. But just because of the nature of this, the frenzy for IPOs and the availability of capital, they could do it. But now it's different. Like, there aren't IPOs like there were, even 2021. But that's why it's kind of hard for me to think that. Well, it's kind of, everybody thinks that a lot of people think that the cycle ended in 21, in 20, but it definitely was the end of the crypto and Bitcoin cycle, at least in the near term. Because Bitcoin topped in a couple years ago, but the recovery, that there's going to be a economic recovery, it's got to be. It's going to be something special that's going to happen. It's going to be something special. But anyway, enough of the macro stuff. But I've got the Yalla back to my holdings here. I'll just go through my puts that I have that are probably going to do better right now than my longs. So TSVT, I've got that one. TSVT is a biotech that is kind of the epitome of a good short, and it's still weak today. I've been looking at this one every day for the past. I've been doing a video on it every day for the past 8 days or so, and every day it just goes down. So it wouldn't surprise me if it actually spikes today or tomorrow, but I still have some puts on this one. I think I've got August. I've just got these monthly puts, so I think it'll be lower by the end of the month, but it may have a little spike or something, but we'll see. It may just drop off a cliff. What else I got? I got the FXI put. China seems. The consensus is pretty much that China's weak right now. So, the risk is they spike it on news or something, or the Chinese government does something, but it's a pretty good short, I think. And I've got the puts on FXI. The other one's EWZ. It's kind of like a contrarian thing because everybody's bullish on Brazil, but they've actually they had rates so high for a really long time, and if you look at the CPI and if you look at I was looking at some of the economics, and the CPI has been really down, it's just down, like the velocity of the drop in CPI looks pretty bad. I think they could easily swing to a deflationary economy if the exports fall off, and if other countries have a recession. But I kind of figured it was a good short when it hit this former resistance from October and November. So it hit there, and that's when I made my trade there when it broke down this. When it broke down, let's zoom in. When it broke down here on the actually I traded it when it broke down the next day because I waited for the support to break right there because it had some support right there. They went back actually to June. So when it broke that, I bought some puts, and it's been working out really nice. It's just down every day. So I've got high hopes that it's gonna just go straight down like it did in the past. Even see, they haven't been able to put any momentum in the stock market either since it's like 2021. So it's kind of a range bound market, and a lot of people like me and other people figured, once you come out of these cycles, these bull markets, it takes time for the economy to work everything out, and for adjustments and for growth to reaccelerate. That's been coming from the Fed, but the range-bound markets are pretty common actually. Of course, over time they go up, but there have been periods of time you get back in the 50s and 60s, the market went sideways for 15 years roughly. So even back after the 2000 bubble, back in 2000 when the tech bubble crashed, a lot of stocks took forever to recover. Like you're looking, I think Microsoft Microsoft went nowhere for the whole time. Pretty much, it just made new highs this year. But the other puts I have, I went ahead and got the Shutterstock puts, the SSTK, because that one I'm so bearish on the fundamentals of Shutterstock and Getty that it just makes sense here with how the technicals are shaping out here. So that's support. It just took out multi-year support here. So sometimes the market's kind of slow to come around to these things, but that was kind of I think it's kind of a niche that a lot of AI companies can do better now. The other puts still have, I'm looking at some of these calls, it's not good, but that's okay because I still have puts. But let's see what other puts I got. Yeah, I did the FNKO puts, that one, that breakdown. I was looking at this scan today, and there's a lot that hit today too. It's kind of the same thing. It took out long-term support, took out multi-year support there. So it's off to the races down below. So that's just a technical setup based on my chart from my scans, and I have some good hopes for these breakdowns. I'm just drawing some trend lines. That's the channel right there. Other puts, what do we have? 4 puts. Well, I still have the DBC calls. I should have just bought the USO calls, because I've always traded that well in the past, the USO, and because USO is just still killing it. But looks like we got the bull flag finally on DBC. So I bought calls on this one instead of USO, which was kind of silly because with the USO, like it trends so well. Like once it starts going, it just goes day after day after day, and that's like what you want. That's what I like if I swing trade it. So I've usually swing trade it for like 2 or 3 days, is the longest I'll hold. So I've held this longer than I usually do, but because I'm playing it as sort of like an oil play, but it's showing some signs here of hope with tracking oil better, because oil is like the biggest holding, so it should be tracking it. Let's see other puts. I think that's about it. Oh yeah, I got the ADT. This one might take a while too. I've got the ADT puts, mostly fundamentals like AI disruption too, but I think that's gonna take. I mean, it's gonna take time. Like these companies that are gonna have technology compete with them. It's gonna take time. Like I'm almost positive with this one that there's going to be superior security systems with like a robot technology, like we've already seen from a lot of companies. They're already tested and stuff. Like it. I mean, if you could have a guard dog robot, why would you have want a old-fashioned security system? I don't know, but that one, it's just a slow downtrender. I may have to roll these. I'll probably roll these puts into the next couple months, because yeah, these are August puts too, so it's gonna take time. And so let's look at some of my favorite longs still that I have. Yeah, the NGL and the other natural gas company. I'm still bullish on the technicals on natural gas. Like pretty much, it's almost impossible to get a handle on the supply and the fundamentals of natural gas because there's so many variables. But that's why I like using technicals and commodities, and technical analysis of commodities is a pretty good track record. Let me see this one. It's pretty much been tracking natural gas. It's doing some weird stuff right here. So I don't want to see it break out, but the natural gas I've been talking about for a few days too. It took out a lot of resistance, and it may just do what people don't expect it to do. Sometimes it happens. That happens a lot with macro. You hear people talk about macro and economics a lot, and they're looking at the data in front of them. And the thing about economics is there's so many externalities and things that can happen in the future. That predicting 6 months out is pretty much it's about impossible. I mean, you can say it's probably in probabilities, like back in 2008 there was a high probability that the mortgages were gonna hit the banks really hard, but so you can make that bet to short, but the timing is hard, like with economics. Usually the market does the opposite of what the economics say it should do. And I mean, and people look at data a lot. Like if you look at the data, the economic data, it's always lagging. So the market's forward looking and the economic data is backward looking because it's lagging. So there's a huge disconnect. Like the best example I can give is from my memory is back in 2008, 2009, when you had the unemployment and huge contraction in the economy. People were getting laid off still, and companies' earnings were terrible. It was just horrible in the first quarter of 2009, and all the economic data was terrible. And I mean, they talk about green shoots and stuff, but that was kind of later. But back in January, February of 2009, and even when the market bottomed in March, the economic data had been terrible before that. So if you were buying the market then, you're just basically speculating that, well, it was basically QE was what did it. But if there wasn't QE, nobody knows what would have happened. I mean, it would have been, like a 5-year depression probably or more. But the thing is that you never know what the Fed's going to do. So that's what happened is like I was bearish, but I didn't expect the Fed to come in and, do massive QE and, a lot of the banks were just like wash trading stuff, and it's crazy to. I'm just saying it's really hard to predict the future with the economy unless there's a huge obvious thing like and to me I think it's the right now I think it's the commercial real estate with office space, because there's been a trend away from that. But I mean, it's nothing comparable to 2005 to 2008 with the mortgage-backed securities. But anyway, back to some more trading things here. The PPH, like if I had to guess what's going to do well over the next rest of the year, I would say it's probably this one, because it's actually been up as the market's been pretty much down and sideways. No, the relative strength is really good, and I mean, you see here, it's just it's gone up a lot since last couple weeks. It's kind of doing the opposite of what the market's doing, and it's breaking out. And these drug companies are just killing it right now. Like these pharmaceutical companies are killing it. So I wouldn't expect that trend to slow. I mean, it's not going to slow down. Even over the next few years or so, or more, or longer, big pharma is going to do really well. Let's go through some other ones that I think are really good. The PPH is really good. Like that's my favorite right now for my calls. Kind of curious about this one. I need to check on the MKFG. Yeah, it hasn't done so well. It got a bunch of volume finally came in, and it's a good watch to see if it actually kind of settles down. But like I was saying, I'm not super bullish on anything right now, other than these defensive areas like the pharma and oil and gas. I mean, I like to look at relative strength, and you look at today, crude oil was up again. So if you got to be long something, just be long the strength. So USO has been up, and the whole time the market's been going pretty much down. So the market's been down, and oil and gas have been up, and that pharma. I really wish there was like a small cap biopharma ETF, because I've seen so many. They go in cycles, and there's months where the small cap biopharma do crazy good, and they all run, like all of them, and it's like kind of like VTGN, like that one, it went from like 2 to 20 or something. It was like up 1,000%, over 1,000%, and but they do that. Some months they're super hot, and when they're hot, they're really hot. I do have Bohr. I have some calls. I forgot one. I have calls on Bohr. It's an oil play. Looks like it's doing okay, but kind of took out some support. But I think really the best play is just to trade USO, and I may actually just buy some more, even though I have the DBC, but the USO is just better. What else we got? Looking through some. Yeah, I'm not super happy with any long setups right now. Yeah, that's about it for my portfolio. Oh yeah, I did buy some UNG calls finally, the natural gas calls, because it took out some good resistance levels. Yeah, let's go through. I'll show you what I was looking at, because I was looking at some of these gap downs. My gap down scan. It's stocks that gap down, and it had a good red day. So and I sort these by RSI. Like I sort by low RSI, so that they're still down when the market's up. So yeah, there's a lot of good. I mean, there's a ton of these. Like this is pretty amazing. Like kind of reminds me of last year with all these huge gap downs. Man, yeah, it's like I'll probably cherry pick these later tonight and see. Yeah, the EXFY. I think that one might be an AI disruption. EXFY. I haven't really looked into it, but oh, look at that. What do you know? Another recent IPO. Well, I was gonna finish my point with those IPOs is the companies that did IPOs, in 2020, 2021. They're kind of the worst of them, in my opinion, or a lot of them were worse. So I mean stuff like Peloton and all these companies that don't have much of a track record. I'm just looking for see if I see a really good one that's taking out some 52-week. I think they're the best when they take out 52-week lows or take out a bunch of support. Like that one's not so good, but QUTR, that one looks pretty interesting. That one sounds familiar too. QUTR. Oh yeah, it's off of earnings too. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, look at that. Just let's see if it IPO'd. I don't think it IPO'd this past couple of years. It went from $10 to $50 in a couple of years there. And it peaked out. Oh yeah, it topped out in 2022. That was a little later than a lot of stuff did. But look at this, so you look at here, here's where it did the most recent big level crack. It cracked a lot of support there. It was a fake out there, but let's draw it up now. So we got support there. It's off our earnings too. That could be good. So a lot of these smaller companies, when they report earnings, like there aren't as many analysts and people covering as large caps. So like people don't have as much of a plan, and there's not there's not hundreds of quants trying to manipulate them and stuff. So a lot of people will sell. They'll find out the news even the next day and sell after earnings. Whereas there's more people watching these large caps. But this is a good one for a short. And what I usually do is I'll look at the fundamentals too, just to see what they're about. Let me just add that one to my watch list real quick. Shorts. And I'm sure I looked at this one before. Probably, it's down 22% today. Let's just see. Let's see what their business is, and just real quick on CUTR. Medical devices, Energy-based product platforms. That sounds weird. Laser platform. Tattoo removal. There's got to be a lot of competition with that. Some really niche things here, like a muscle stimulation device. That sounds like a gimmick or something. Skin resurfacing. I don't know. Yeah, this isn't. What's the acne? Yeah, I mean that's it's a lot of competition in that stuff. Let's see how bad their earnings were. They missed on revenue. They missed. They're expected to lose 55 cents and they lost 69. They lost more than last year, so the trend is year over year they're losing. They're losing more. Over the last 4 quarters, the company surpassed EPS estimates 2 times. That's not super good. Let's see. It doesn't talk about the revenue. It looks like it's still some AI stuff, AI generated content. See how it says, like, it sounds like it's a person writing this stuff, like investors should be mindful of the fact that the outlook for the industry can have a material impact on the performance, blah blah blah. That sounds like AI. See, they don't even have an author. Let's see. We actually had some revenue growth in the past. Look at that loss. Wow. Yeah, they're just losing money now. But that's a good one to that's a really good short watch. There's just so many of them now. Like, look at these. Look at that gap down on the ASLE. Wow. So many. DDD. Man, yeah, that's a lot. But I guess I'll look at some other things real quick. The Qs. Where'd my chart go? Qs are doing kind of what I was thinking they would do. It's just a slow grind down. It's not even really, it's not holding this channel. It's just it broke down below this channel, which is not good if you're a bull. And it took out, did it take out that support too? Yeah, it looks like it took out that support. Yeah, it took out this support level right here. I'm just gonna see what else. 370, so it took out that level, so it's not looking too good for the Qs. Not looking good. I'm looking at the things that have been holding up the market and that have been the leaders in the market, just to kind of get a barometer of how really bad it is, or what's likely here. The semis, kind of the same thing. But the Dow has been pretty strong, but that's coming down a bit. But it's got trend support on this red line here. It's still got a while before it hits trend support, so it's actually not looking bad. It looks it's got a lot of support levels to hit, but I mean, it just seems more likely it's going to come down at this point. And I was looking at XLI in the past too, kind of the same thing. Doesn't look too bad either, really. It's kind of held up. But, so that's kind of, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I'm most confident of right now at this point. Even though I think it's gonna be rocky, like there'll be ups and downs. But the VIX, let's look at the VIX too, because the VIX just kind of, it's been going sideways. Like, I think buying the VIX is a pretty bad idea if you're bearish, because it just doesn't really move much, even when there's a lot of volatility sometimes. But I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I was thinking of. Yeah, DLA, that one. Man, I missed that one. That one I said was a good setup yesterday at short, and I think she's gonna keep coming down. It's a good short. It's a clothing company. Kind of want to look at some other XLP that I would think would be a pretty good place if we do have a big correction, but it's probably not the best, because it's still like in a channel. It's got a long channel. So I'll just wrap it up there and call it a night. So catch you later.